Alrighty guys, it is Qaaman here today, and I'm bringing you another Dragon Ball Z segment discussing the fact that we have gotten an English translation for the upcoming Dragon Ball Super manga. So I'm going to post a link to that in the description, but also in this video I'm also going to do a little review on the actual chapter itself, and I'm going to share my thoughts on how I think this series is going to play out in terms of time replacement analysis and everything else. So without wasting any more time, let's get straight into this video. So the very first thing that I want to talk to you guys about is the actual chapter itself in terms of how this is playing out. So at first we see a little flashback with Goku fighting against Kid Buu with Vegeta and how Goku actually defeats Kid Buu. And we see Goku basically, looking relatively bored and having kind of a reminiscing moment of what he was doing. And he's basically just sitting here on a farm and just doing some radish work, because we've known from the Yosun Goku and his Friends Return special that Goku is actually officially a radish farmer. And essentially what he's basically doing here is just kind of just relaxing and doing what he's doing to impress Chi-Chi in terms of making money. And what I find interesting about all of this is that when Goku has a little flashback where we see him actually fighting against Frieza, Cell, and Majin Buu in kind of like his own state of mind, I found that really interesting, because it really shows you Goku's true inside of his character, because it really shows you how bored Goku is as a whole, and how he essentially is really bored with doing all of this radish work, and he really wants to get back to fighting. And we quickly see a change in the actual series from here on out, where we see Mr. Satan coming to offer Goku money. And I found this pretty interesting because I had talked to Rhymestyle a while back, and I'll post the link in the outro so you guys can check out a video I did with Rhymestyle about is Goku's family rich. And essentially we were saying that as radish farmers, they would make a decent living, but obviously because of the fact that Goku's family lives in the mountains where there's a very low standard of living, he doesn't have to have as many expenses as compared to if he was in the city. And most importantly, what I found the most interesting is that because of the fact that Gohan is with Mr. Satan's daughter, and also because of the fact that Goku is friends with basically the richest family in the world, would obviously lead me to believe that if Goku ever had financial problems, he could easily solve them. And so when we flip the script and we see Beerus out in space on that alien planet, and they're essentially just serving him, and when the guy mentions a vegetable soup, he says vegetable, it kind of doesn't make sense when we look at this from the English translation as compared to the Japanese translation. And let me tell you guys why. In Japanese, the word Saiyan is derived from the word yasai, and the jin is always used to attach the word people to it. So Saiyajin is essentially like Saiyan people. Namekiya jin is like Namekian people. So that pun doesn't actually make sense about this, and I was talking to Geekdom. It doesn't make sense when you translate this into English, because it's like saying vegetable soup. How does this make any sense? But it makes sense when you translate it into Japanese, because it's like yasai soup, Saiyajin. It makes sense more when you actually translate it into the Japanese version. And after you guys read the chapter, you get a little bit more of an understanding of it yourself. And I found it pretty comical how Beerus basically, they actually attempted to poison Beerus with poison, and when they were actually serving him. And of course Beerus is a god of destruction. His immune system is probably off the charts, so it had absolutely no effect on him, and he basically just says, alright, well, you guys try to kill me, so I'm just gonna blow up your planet. And that's basically how the cookie crumbles. The artwork for the actual chapter is very similar to the Dragon Ball Minus manga adaptation. If you guys actually read the Dragon Ball Minus adaptation, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It does not look like the Dragon Ball, and it definitely doesn't look similar to the Dragon Ball Z manga adaptations in terms of the way the characters are drawn. But this is actually drawn by the artist Toyotaro, so it's very different from what we see. So that's basically my review of the chapter. God, so this leads me to discussing my theory on how all of this comes. I am almost certain that Dragon Ball Super is going to completely deviate from Fakatsu no F, and it's going to completely deviate from Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods, and here's why. There's already an immediate contradiction to Battle of Gods, because of the fact that in Battle of Gods we saw Beerus hearing about the Super Saiyan God in a completely different fashion, where he's having lunch with Whis on that planet that, you know, it was never actually discussed, or realm. And because of the fact that that is completely different, it leads me to believe that, similar to what we've seen in Dragon Ball Z movies, the movies are kind of like a little fun thing that we see. But I think that Dragon Ball Super is now going to be the official adaptation of what Toriyama truly wanted to do with this whole God concept, Super Saiyan God and all of that. And the Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods movie was kind of there to just kind of bring Dragon Ball back, because of the fact that Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods and Fakatsu no F have had so much success, that leads me to believe that their success caused Super to happen. Toriyama did not originally plan to create a whole new series encasing this entire new God concept and everything along those lines. And when it pertains to Fakatsu no F can take place at any point in time during, you know, the gap between, you know, the end of the whole Kid Buu arc all the way to the end of Z. So, quite frankly, after everything I've said, guys, and yes, I know I have a tendency to say quite frankly a lot, I truly think that, unfortunately, Battle of Gods and Fakatsu no F are going to be written off. Maybe Fakatsu no F can take place theoretically in this manga adaptation, but I'm almost certain that Battle of Gods is going to be completely written off. It's going to be rewritten in an official Dragon Ball Super form, and it's going to retcon the entire movie as a whole, and we're gonna get a brand new series where we can get more character development with Whis, with Beerus, with this new character called Champa that has been revealed, and also this female looking Whis character. And I think that at the end of the day, guys, it's much better for the series. It's much better that we actually get to have a much richer adaptation of the series as opposed to just having a 1 to 2 hour movie that is really fun to watch, but we can't do as much with it as a whole for the advancement of the series. And I think if Fakatsu no F does eventually take place in this manga or something leading up to it, it makes a lot more sense for the events of Super to kind of bridge the gap to it. And, you know, quite frankly, because of what we've seen in Dragon Ball Z Fakatsu no F with the whole, you know, Goku training with Whis along with Vegeta, it kind of shows that there was a huge gap in time where we don't see how Goku started to train with them. So I think Dragon Ball Super is going to completely write off all those things, and I hope you guys share your thoughts in the comment section below. If you guys agree with my theory, I personally think this is much better for the series because you can't base a show off of a movie. And, you know, I'd really love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. And I'd also like to say Happy Father's Day for all of you fathers out there, and also for characters like Hercule, Goku, Vegeta, Gohan in this case, and most importantly, the great Demon King Piccolo. So most importantly over everything else, please remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. And remember, as I always say, to have a great day, guys.